it's Jazzy. I'm back with another video, and this is the first video in a full part series going over land ownership, pros, cons, my path forward, where I started, what I would recommend. I am not someone that is licensed to give advice. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. And I want to get into saving really quick. In my opinion, in 20 years, and you guys can think I'm crazy for this, the way the world is being set up right now, the changes happening in the world, I somehow don't think that squirreling away money for a retirement account or traditional investment vehicle and saving it until you're 50, 60 years old is going to matter. Now, that might be very controversial, but the way crypto and the economy and a lot of things are moving, technology is moving, I find it more important for me to be an investor in the now. And for me, that vehicle has always been real estate. It always was made sense to me. There's a finite amount of land on planet Earth, and there's always a need for people to be housed. That's not going to go away in the near future, right? So something that I really want to impress upon you guys, know your situation, know if you can save money. If you're trying to buy real estate and you have a mortgage already, or you're paying rent somewhere and you have car insurance on top of that, then honestly, I wouldn't recommend it because you already are locked into such a binding agreement already. You want to, before you do those things, at least have enough of a nest egg. I would say at least $10,000, if not more. That is just money set aside that has no obligation to it. You don't need to pay bills with it. It's just sitting there. Personally, to do this, I leveled down my living situation. No renting an apartment. I love having a studio apartment so I can stream and create content, do all types of things. I cut down on that. And then also, I bought my Sprinter van. I do a lot of traveling for work. I have a cleaning service. I have a mobile setup where I can work on the go. So the only really thing is I travel for work. That's how I live. That's how I have my overhead, how I kind of have a roof over my head, so to speak. More focused on putting away money, saving it, and then taking that saved money and then reinvesting it into an investment property, land, for example. I want to skip ahead to that. I will put timestamps on when I'm going into the contract and just overall, like my process in finding a seller, all of that. So if you want to skip forward to that, I'll leave the timestamps in the description. Especially for me, thinking of doing rentals and all this stuff down the line, I wanted to have that flexibility to choose. There's a big caveat here. This is where you want to probably like rewatch the video a few times. Define ownership of land for you. Now, you can do a few different things. I personally would find a seller that offers owner financing, cash payment, as well as early payment. So for cash, obviously you're paying it in full. If you have 100K in the bank and you're looking at a $20,000 parcel, I'd say go for it. You're paying it off early, so you're probably cutting down on a couple $1,000 that you'd be paying anyways on a financing deal. And that way you have 3 times, 4 times what you have in the deal, so you're not really strapped, if that makes sense. There's also owner financing. That is what I did. I did have the option and the money to pay cash, but for me personally, it makes more sense for me to leverage my money. Those are the options you have for buying land. Now, going into the agreement that I struck with my seller, this is important, guys. First off, find a vehicle where you're going to shop your land. A lot of people get word of mouth deals. They talk to friends who are in real estate, developers. That's one way. That's probably the best way because you're going to get a lot of really good first-hand information that may be more reliable. Go on land.com, go on realtor.com, find a good seller. Guys, this is going to be like the major point of this video. Find a reputable, good seller that you feel comfortable with. I cannot impress upon you guys how important this is. And I will give you a story time. I was looking at land for a month or so prior to finding this deal. The first seller I found, at first, everything seemed good on paper. They seemed very like open, gave me the basic details that you would expect to get, personal number, square footage, coordinates, all that. But the further I went down the line with the deal, the more vague and shady it became. I never really did a Zoom meeting with the seller, which I thought was odd. It was always the seller agent, never the actual seller, the person who owns the company. It was also very, very hard to get details from them. It was always very vague. They seemed a little bit rude, to be honest, in some ways. And short with answers. They kind of were skirting around the answers that I needed and giving me kind of like word salad. Their website even seemed a little shoddy. Yes, I got the bare bones details on the land, but as far as information about the seller themselves and their reputability, their money back guarantees, there was nothing. Even their social media, it was literally made the same month that I was looking at this land, which is shady as heck. If you know, you know. If you're reputable, you're going to have at least 5 followers and you're not going to create your account coincidentally when you're trying to sell to a buyer, okay? It's just not going to happen. So a few things happened. I literally had my tickets booked to go to Florida, which is where I purchased my land, Florida, to view this property. And I guess you could say I got cold feet. A gut feeling hit me. And I was like, this is not the right deal. Like something is off about it. And I got my deposit back, which is great. I was worried I wouldn't get it back, but I got it back yesterday. Canceled my tickets, and lo and behold, I found an amazing, amazing seller. Super reputable, had all of those boxes I just outlined that weren't checked for the original deal, checked off. And they're just very accessible. They put their actual address, their phone number, they have a YouTube, they do videos, like it's great. And I'm very happy with the seller I went with. So that's great. And going into like the bare basics, you guys could probably figure this out yourselves, but have the parcel ID number. You need to have that. The coordinates, so you can either do a survey or you can walk your land if you're good with mapping and stuff, and just coordinate where your land starts and stops so you can mark your boundaries. I'm going to do a survey. Honestly, I just don't want to mess up doing a self-survey. So I'm just going to have someone through the county come out and survey the land and mark it off for me. Also, know what your land can do. Know what you want to do with your land. Have a goal. Know what you want to do with your land because that matters. You could do residential, commercial. You could do rural. You could do wetlands. It just depends on what you're looking to do with your land. For me personally, I was just looking for residential, especially with it being my first real estate deal. I didn't want to do anything further than a residential. I wasn't jumping into commercial first buy. Honestly, now that I have my toes in the water, if you will, I definitely would be interested in maybe commercial down the line. But for my first deal, I wanted to start quote unquote small with a residential property. You could always apply for a zoning variance on the land that you're buying. But realistically speaking, zoning variances are not guaranteed. You could apply for them, you could petition, but it doesn't mean you could be literally stuck with land you can't feasibly do anything with. So just make sure you research, you call the county official and see what that land is purposed for, because you could be in an agreement, which once you sign these documents, it's an official agreement. And another point I want to really hit home is that they will give you a 90-day window to either come back to them and say, this is wrong with the deal, I want this tweaked in the agreement, and they're open to doing that. But not a lot of sellers will do that. Once you sign on the dotted line, it's game over. You are paying the money, you are locked in to whatever agreement you signed on. So just make sure you're honestly reading over your agreement. If you're not fluent in certain things, I'm an accounting major, which doesn't really, obviously, but I am very good with like details and technicalities. So I really went over this with like a fine-tooth comb for a full day. I just sat down and read over each paragraph, word for word, line for line. If you're not very good with that stuff and you need someone to look it over for you, just take it to a lawyer's office. They will read over something like this. This is a binding document in a real estate deal. Most lawyers will do it for a fee. I don't know what that fee will be, but they will look over it and kind of give you guidance on it. But know what you're signing. Know what you're signing. You do your due diligence. Walk the land. If you have to fly out to see it, I know it's a pain in the butt to not be able to just drive down easily. Fly out and go see it. And then in the rare cases where you can't, just ask your seller to do like a walkthrough if they can. They should have some sort of video of the land that they can send you so you can at least see it with your eyes. I don't recommend signing on scene because you could be getting any mystery package if you do not actually visibly see the land. And if there's something visibly wrong with that land, either have what I have here, which is a 90-day guarantee. So if I go down, right, and I check out the land and something pops up, right, there's a bunch of wild boar that I didn't know were indigenous to the land and they were rummaging around, and I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. But if something came up within that 90 days and I needed to touch base with the seller about my concerns with the land, I have the ability to with that 90-day guarantee. That's the one thing in the contract that really benefits me as the buyer. So that is really all I wanted to go into with that. Obviously, guys, there's more that goes into this, like the location. What are you looking for? For me personally, this first real estate deal, I want it to be somewhere very rural, very off the beaten track. I wanted privacy. I really tend on just treating it as like more of a homestead until I do a full build on it. But that's not everyone. Not everyone wants. Some people just want turnkey, super nice, bells and whistly, beautiful home, right? But for me, I was a very low risk, low reward investor to begin with this first deal. I didn't need much as long as I'm kind of off to the beaten track, not in a very like heavily populated area, and the land is good. The area isn't like downtrodden. Then I'm personally fine. But really just know your area, know where you're trying to go. There are certain parts of Florida that are very hot markets. And that are more expensive, obviously. If you're going to Daytona, if you're going to Sarasota, if you're going to Naples, any of these places that are very like hot ticket places where everyone's trying to buy in, you're going to be paying that hot ticket price, even for land, okay? People do think that land is the cheaper option in buying property. It really isn't. It depends on where you're buying it, because like if you have all these things, if you have electric, if you have septic, if you have the parcel you want and the neighborhood you want, and it has everything going for it, everyone's going to be trying to buy and develop that land, especially if it's in a really good area. So you just have to weigh out the pros and cons, know what you want to deal with. I was okay with being in North Florida myself. I had no issue with that. Florida, for me, being in the state was enough for me. It's your foot in the door, and anything you want to get to in the state is like about an hour's drive. So to me, that's fine. I have family in Georgia, so I'm like 2-3 hours away from them up in Georgia. So it all made sense to me where I'm located in the state, but you just have to do your research, know exactly where you want to be. If you're willing to pay that money, save it up, reinvest it into that land. And yeah, that's really all I have for this video. I know I'm probably missing a whole bunch of stuff, but this is an ongoing series on my channel, and I will be back with more videos. I do intend to my next video being like a walkthrough of the land. I need to go down there and do like a full like groundbreaking ceremony, all my friends and family to it, which is going to be super exciting. I'm going to probably post all over Instagram, all over YouTube, and all of that stuff, because it's going to be very exciting occasion. But yeah, that is it. I don't really have much else to say other than what I mentioned. The only other thing I would say is just do your due diligence. A lot of the time, sellers will tell you this, anyways. You should do your own research, like your life depends on it, because this is a very big deal. This is a very big purchase. And you want to know what you're signing yourself up for in the long term. Video was helpful for you guys. If it was, leave a like, comment down below. I want to know what you guys thought about this video because there'll be way more to come. I told you guys if I came back to YouTube that it would be something very informational. Maybe I'll do day in the life of a landowner. I don't know. I have to go to the bank right now. Oh my gosh, I'm running late for that. But I wanted to film this and just get that done because I've been kicking the can down the road. So I hope you guys did enjoy. I will touch base with you guys soon and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. See you guys. Bye.